Welcome to H2O Croutons.
I'm Alexis.
And I'm Jennifer. Together, we're mother.
And daughter co-host. Think Gen Z.
Meets Gen X. And let the games begin. We're here to add a little crunch to your day with real talk on everything from A to Z.
From pop culture and the latest news to deep dives on topics that you didn't even know you cared about, we've got you covered.
So, grab a drink, get cozy, and let's dive in. This is H2O Croutons. Hey everybody, it's H2O Croutons. This is your host, Jennifer, and...
Lexi.
And then we have...
Special guest Steve.
You're special. We're going to do that again, right?
Fine. I keep telling you, I am the most special person there is. I lick windows.
Okay, so we are going to be doing a new series that I'm going to call I Want to Be President. That's right. We want to be president. We think we could do a better job. We're pretty fair.
I'm sure that this will not rustle anybody's feathers whatsoever.
None at all. So, basically, what we're going to be doing is making a series of every time we do this, no set schedule of when, we're going to be discussing 3 polarizing topics. Today will be abortion, gun control, and immigration. Uh-oh.
Yeah, sure, we'll get plenty of happy fans on this one.
So, first topic is abortion. You have the floor, sir.
Okay, reproductive rights. I suppose, in my opinion, people have the right to reproduce or not reproduce as they see fit. Me, as an individual, I don't have the right to force my beliefs or my feelings on abortion on someone else. That whole, my body, my choice is, to me, it makes sense. I don't, I don't have a womb, so it doesn't affect me, physically or personally. If we found out that you were pregnant, it's maybe a concern of health at this point. And I don't get final say on that. To me, it just comes off as oppressive to try and tell somebody how to handle their body and handle what's going on with them. Yeah, I really have nothing else to wrap this up with, so I'll take a small bow.
All right. So, now we're going to move on to Lexi. We're having technical difficulties I'm going to be editing out. I thought I should just mention why we're laughing right now.
Man, if I wanted this kind of unprofessionalism, I'd go to work.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I would have to say I pretty much agree 100%, but I have a few more things to add on, such as I don't necessarily know what it's called, but there is a medical condition where a woman may not be necessarily pregnant, but...
Tubular pregnancy?
Possibly, but the way to get rid of that is through what's technically an abortion. So you're going to take away those rights from women to get literal medical help for something that could go very wrong by getting rid of abortions. And, it's also something I see as it's still in your body. It's not breathing, nor does it normally around the time of an abortion have a heartbeat, I don't believe. Am I correct on that?
I'm not going to answer that.
Okay.
I think once it is, I'll discuss that with my end.
Yeah, but I believe there should be a certain cutoff point where you can't get an abortion. People like Trump saying they abort the baby after birth and this, that, and the other. No, they don't. That's not how that works. If you heard that and believed that, then that is wrong. It's not an opinion. That's what was said, and it was wrong information. So I think that it should be around a 4-week cutoff. However, that also depends on health issues, I believe. If there's health issues with the baby and you prefer not to risk that, then I think that's something that you and your doctor should talk about. If there's health issues with you, that's something you and your doctor should talk about. Because I don't think it's fair to put your life at risk just so another life that's not even born yet can come into this world. Plus, with the way that things are in this world, it wouldn't be fair in general, in my opinion.
What I think is basically, morally, I'm completely against it. But as a person who lives in this country and believes in freedom, It's not my right to tell another person what they can and cannot do with their body, just as people who are pro Second Amendment would not want people telling them what they can and can't do with their guns. If there is a medical reason, I think we need some leniency. If a woman is raped or a child has been sexually assaulted, I do think that there's always something in each case as an individual issue. I do think if you're using it as birth control, you probably need to go do something about that. If you don't mind putting it out there and continuing pregnancy and giving up for adoption, I think that would be great because there are many families who would love one. And I also 110% basically just believe that if a child is going to be mentally undeveloped and I would say have any kind of physical capabilities that will affect him or her for the rest of their lives, we put dogs down for less. So something to consider, something to think about. But this generalization that we have going on is not making it fair. This is America. We're not living in some country that dictates yet about what we should and shouldn't be doing. There's freedom for all. Not just you, not just me, for everyone.
May I add?
So, yeah.
I just want to add one more thing with that because I never mentioned where I stand with it morally. I believe, I kind of have a couple different ways I could go with that. Like, if you're doing it for health concerns, I morally think that's fine. However, like you said, if you're doing it for birth control, I don't necessarily care for that.
All right, so I'm going to take a little break here. We'll come back and discuss gun control. Okay, welcome back. We're going to be discussing gun control and about the regulations of firearms that result in heated debates over public safety and individual rights. Lexi, what's your opinion?
So I'll be completely honest here. I love having the ability to, for fun, shoot a rifle, a pistol, a shotgun. I find it to be more of a sport than anything, in my opinion. However, I also know that I'm mentally someone that's not going to go flying off the handles and go end someone's life over it, or multiple lives. Honestly, feel like there should be more protocols in place for buying a gun. However, it's also very hard to try to regulate who all is mentally stable and who all isn't, because I feel like the best way you're going to get that is if you go in for a psychological evaluation, and not everyone's going to be able to afford that. I've seen how many school shootings there are on the news, and whenever I was in school, there was one in particular. Sandy Hook is actually what I'm thinking of, I think. Okay. And I remember just coming home and both my parents immediately, oh my God, we've got a kid home. And I hate that parents and kids alike have to go through this fear of possibly getting killed just trying to get an education. I understand why people get so sensitive about guns because there are so many lives taken every year by them. I mean, there's a ton of gun violence here. Every day I walk by our Echo shows and I see there's a new headline, man shot in city name, 4 shot dead in city name, this, that, and the other. And it's all the time. However, I'm not sure if there's necessarily a way to regulate that. So that's just pretty much my opinion. My very long opinion.
Your very long opinion?
Yeah.
Okay, so on to me. I've got the mic. Watch out. As far as my opinion, Lexi, you said something that made me go, that's a problem. Now, I want to backtrack about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I was completely anti-gun. Completely. And marrying your dad and giving a perspective that I never thought of before. And he, showed me that. And that's where we have to be more receptive to hearing other people's perspectives on it.
Yeah, for
because if there is no reception to the perspective, we're never going to learn and grow. Okay?
Yes, agreed.
So the gun didn't kill anybody.
It was a person behind it.
Yes. This is not the gun's fault. This is the person's fault.
Agreed.
And as far as psychological evaluations, that one is I understand that we need it, but the regulation of it is what's concerning because I don't want government-appointed psychologists and psychiatrists determining who can and cannot have a weapon. How do we know they're not going to go search out if they're a Democrat or a Republican and go, well, if you're a Republican, you can't have one.
For sure, agreed.
We wouldn't want that.
No.
So we have to be very, very careful on how we approach that. And I do believe 100% that we have a right to carry and should have a right to carry, but we need to carry responsibly. I do think if you're a gun owner, you need to be more responsible as far as how you store your weapons. If you have children, mentally ill, elderly, I think you need to be responsible and secure your weapons just for the sake of nothing happening. Because a lot of the shootings that you were referring to was some kid getting their parents' weapon
Yes.
or their parents purchasing a weapon they shouldn't have had because they weren't even legal age. That should have been a sale through. I don't think we should be able to gift guns. I don't.
No.
That's my opinion because you don't know who you're gifting to and you can't regulate things a little bit better. But their regulation needs to happen. But taking away Second Amendment rights, absolutely do not agree with 100%. So that's my opinion. And it is on to you.
Okay. How much time do we have for this? Because I can talk for days.
You have
about
3
it.
minutes.
Wow. Okay. Let me just go on the record. I am so pro Second Amendment that I think I should be able to have an Abrams tank in my backyard without any regulation on it whatsoever. Now that I have just freaked out everybody, but the reality is, background. I grew up going shooting with my dad, with my uncle. It was in Boy Scouts, was in the military, had a carry permit. It's for the last 20 years. I know how to handle a firearm safely and responsibly. I was taught that at an early age. That being said, that just because I did doesn't necessarily mean everybody else does. And because I received training doesn't mean everybody else in different states receives training. Every state has their own rules for a carry permit. My home state of Indiana, you got fingerprinted and a background check by the police. Yep, you're good to go. In other states, a lot of states I know of, okay, well, we need proof of training. You have to go to a class. Or, oh, hey, you were prior military service. We'll use that. Show us that you were prior service. We know you've been trained. But there is, like, as Jen and Lexi both mentioned, a lot of it is a mental health issue. Lexi mentioned colleges. I'm going back to 2008, I believe, was Virginia Tech. I can't remember the guy's name. And he legally purchased firearms as, state of Virginia, did the background check. He was clean as far as they were concerned, no criminal convictions. But then after everything happened, talked to his doctors and his family, and he had a lot of mental issues, but nobody said anything. So I do have some thoughts where a mental health evaluation, I don't necessarily think that it's required, and because of as Jen pointed out, the concerns of the invasion of privacy and how it can be used against people, but it's something to definitely consider. And I know y'all also brought up, it's the person holding the firearm, not the person or not the firearm itself. And there's the argument, the anti-assault weapon argument, and I can go 4 days, I can filibuster on that one. That said, I get the concern with that, and again, I think it's something that it really comes down to everybody wants to do big, bad, Schwarzenegger, Stallone action movie stuff until it's time to actually do the responsible stuff and realize what a firearm can do. And I definitely do not say we need an assault weapons ban because, one, we can't come up with a definition of an assault weapon to begin with, but two, I don't know. It's because I'm used to what I've carried in the military in other countries. Don't necessarily need that for going to the grocery store. I don't need an AR-15 to go to the grocery store. But I would like to be able to own one if I so desire. I think with a lot of people, too, is besides, not wanting to be the responsible party or do the adult thing, is we have a big problem with a lot of folks, and this extends everywhere. I think the problem is people, ooh, I can own a gun. How cool is that? And the unfortunate reality with a lot of laws that we have in our country, and we're seeing it now, and apply it as you see necessary. But these laws and these regulations were written with the assumption that people were going to be actual adults and be rational human beings about it. And the unfortunate reality is that a lot of folks are irrational in this country, and I don't have a good solution to weed that out. And I think that's why a lot of people say we need to have gun bans rather than trying to fight that battle of weeding out the irrational folks. And I'm not sure, I don't think that's the right answer, but I don't know of a good answer.
Okay. All right. We'll be right back after this. Okay, welcome back. Now we are on to the last and final part, immigration. So, here we are. This one is going to be a really, really, I don't know, complicated thing to discuss only because people are really adamant about it. And someone who has worked in Nuevo Laredo, Mexico, and had to cross the border every day, twice a day, for a job that I was doing there for about 5 months, right when the cartels were starting. I have opinions about everything. People don't realize that over there are, in Mexico, poor people who are basically not given much of a choice. You can either live very poor and not have running water, food in your stomach, or shelter, electricity, or you can join the cartel and have the very basics and survive. That's how poor it is over there. And it's border town Mexico, and then all the inner parts. The things that you see, like Puerto Vallarta and I don't know, any place where people go for travel purposes, that's not Mexico. That is not Mexico, but it is run by the cartels. At any rate, I have empathy for people that go through that because I've actually got to know quite a few of them when I was living there, and they were working. But they were making about 25 cents an hour as opposed to my $20 an hour at that point. And I was early 20s. But their border control was, I probably got pulled over and had my car searched about 4 times when I was there. But on the way back, every time. So U.S. Customs is doing what they're supposed to do. You have to declare if you have anything that they were like, do you have it? Because if you do and you don't tell us, you've got a problem. And if you do, you have to give it over. I never had that problem because I knew what I could and couldn't take. But I do believe in helping. And I do believe we need to remember that unless you're Native American, you're an immigrant or you come from immigrants. And we need to humble ourselves and recognize that because that's something that bothers me as well. And Mexicans actually share DNA with Native Americans. So who's real? Who's authentic here? Who's really an American? But if you remember and refer back to the poem on the Statue of Liberty, and it basically says, give to me your tired, you're poor, and your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Legal immigration is important, and I understand it, but there are circumstances where I think we need to open our minds to that because these people are trying to escape that. Do I think there are cartel members coming over? Yes, but they're not coming over the way you guys think. They've been coming over for years, and they have found ways to do it, and I promise you, there's not a wall in the world that they care about. There's just not. They dig tunnels underground and everything. So if you're going to build a wall, you're going to need to build it probably about 12 feet under, and that's on a good day. There's not enough border control to control the entire border, so that's where they come over. So it's a lot of the people working down there. You've also got the cartel who are just absolutely terrifying, in my opinion. I wouldn't mess with them. You do you, I do me. I've literally witnessed 2 men get decapitated from cartel members, and it's over the simplest of stuff. So we need to think about what we're doing, what we're saying, and who we're trying to help, because if we don't help them, who will? And one day, things could turn, and we're going to want somebody else's help. And I think Mexico would take us in. So that's my opinion, how I feel about it. Every circumstance is different, and we need to figure that out. We need to be a safe place for refugees trying to get away from people like that. And on to you.
Okay. We've got, I would say, a lot to unpack on this one. A lot of phrases, I suppose, I got. I had heard, I think it was Dennis Miller said it years ago. Couldn't tell you where I remember hearing it, but it was, where he's saying, I'm all for immigration, just, sign the guest book. And that kind of resonated with me, like, okay, yeah, legal immigration, no problem. Mm-hmm. On a personal level, you met a guy when I was in Iraq in the Army in 2005, and his name was Saad. Saad was one hell of an electrician, because these guys would come on these Iraqis would come on the base that we were on and work for like, $10-15 a day. But compared to what they were making, in Iraqi dinar, it was, good money. And just doing kind of, work that we had around the base that needed to be done. And there was an electrical job. And no, I'm not going to tell that whole story about Saad and how he cracked me up. But It just he was a smart dude and willing to work, and he was talking with me and one of the NCOs that was there with us, and we were chatting with him because we saw these guys almost on a daily basis. And Saad was telling us, like, I know people in Detroit, got friends there, and I've been trying to get to the U.S. with my family. And we were telling him, like, Saad, we know you. You're a hard worker. You're wanting to find a job, take care of your family. Man, you would do well in America. And like I said, that was 2005, and I think it was 2014, 16, somewhere in there. I remember coming and telling you that I found out that he had come to the U.S.
No.
And I was almost crying. I was so happy about it. I'm starting to, you hear my voice right now. It's just because I want to see that. I want to see somebody who is in a rough situation be able to make good. I like to see that for people. Refugees, same thing. Syria, and going back to the 90s, Bosnians caught in the middle of a war coming to the U.S. And it's absolutely, and we had more recently Afghan citizens, Afghanis coming over. Yes.
Met them all.
Yeah, and I want these folks to come over, and because we all kind of got, at least I kind of got taught, if you're willing to work hard, whether or not America won't necessarily take care of you, but if you're willing to work hard, you got a shot, and that's more than they had
Where they're coming
in
from.
in these other countries, Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Bosnia, take your pick. In Mexico with the cartels, people are trying to escape this, and
Yep.
I've seen plenty of times, guys hanging out outside of Home Depot at 6 a.m. Pick up work for the day, doing construction jobs. And some guy who owns a roofing company roll up, hold up, 3 fingers, like, need 3 guys. They hop in, he pays them whatever for the day. Hope it's a decent wage, but they work hard for their money. I don't begrudge them that. It's they're just trying to make it through this life, and my time in Iraq taught me people. I figure my math on it is 80% of the people in this world are really just trying to get through this life. And if we can be, as kind of got taught in school, that shining beacon on the hill, I don't remember who said that. If we be that as Americans, let's do that for them.
Yes, I agree. Okay, you're up.
Alrighty, I have opinions about this for sure. And it kind of rolls into also, like, am I good to talk about illegal immigrants here?
Yes.
Or okay, perfect.
That's what we were talking about. Refugees are kind of illegal.
Okay, perfect.
No, you can't talk about them. This is America. How dare you? Sarcasm for those who aren't picking up on it.
So I'm just gonna be fully blunt here. These people, like, they, as both my parents have said, come from horrible situations. However, it feels like the laws and stuff that they want to set in place are only towards one, nationality.
Cultural.
Yeah, one cultural,
Group.
one race. How about that? One race.
That's more realistic with,
Yeah, because I've noticed, even Trump himself said recently, you can see when someone is a illegal immigrant, or as he said, an illegal alien. I hate that word. I think it's so disrespectful. I feel like it'd be more respectful to call them an illegal immigrant, so that's what I'm going to keep saying. He said, you can see when someone is an illegal immigrant because it's just, you can just tell by their looks. You can just see that they're evil or something like that, and that is borderline racism. And I've always noticed that they're even trying to say that now that Native Americans are, from time to time, illegal immigrants because they look Hispanic.
That's just wrong. I'll fight
Exactly.
Yeah.
that. I don't believe in it.
Exactly. And it's something that, look, these people are willing to come to America, and I'm going to just be blunt. They work the jobs that we don't want to. They're building pools, as Dad said, roofs, fences.
They're picking the fruits off farms.
Yes. And if someone is illegal and I know that, I'm not going to mention it. That stays with me. I'm not going to say a word because they get treated like animals going back to their own countries. That whole thing about Trump wanting to, put them on airplanes, just military airplanes, right?
Yep.
Handcuff them, send them over in military airplanes. They're still human. Sure, they didn't necessarily, as Dad said, sign the guest book, but they're still human. They still deserve that chance to get out of a dangerous situation. And like my mom said, if we were ever in a situation where we would need out of our own country, we would want that opportunity to get out as well, even if it might not be by the most legal terms. And there are people like that say, well, it's because some of them are dangerous and this and that. Not really. Most of them are actually pretty chill people. Like, most immigrants, most illegal immigrants, really chill people. They don't do nothing. They don't harm anyone. There are the ones that are mentally ill that will and have. Like, there was a case recently, a college student, I believe, was murdered by someone who was an illegal immigrant. And so that's, like, the big argument right now. Like, so because someone is an illegal immigrant, they're all stereotyped as murderers now? That,
I'm not. And it's not on the top of immigration. It's me being okay. We'll go back to gun control. How many school shooters were white male?
exactly.
So all white
Serial
males,
killers.
right? Yeah, perfect example. Serial killers. So therefore, right, you cannot be that judgmental, paint with that broad of a brush.
Exactly. And you can't just, whenever you're walking through, like, a city or something, like, say you're ICE and you're walking through a city, they're not looking for the people who are white, the people who are Italian, well, maybe, because, I don't know, but they're not looking for people who...
They're profiling is what you're trying to
Yes,
say.
exactly.
Yes.
They're looking for the people who are Hispanic or Native American because it's by looks at this point. There were people who voted for Trump that are Hispanic that were crying, saying, I'm scared to go into work anymore because I'm afraid that ICE is going to come and get me. There are kids who... They're the story of the school bus. Like,
Yes.
they're...
The bus driver wouldn't let
Yes.
them come on there. Yes.
It is ridiculous at this point. What are y'all so afraid of? Well, they're taking our jobs, and maybe get off of your couch and go find a job where what they're working, I don't know. They're not taking your jobs. They're more worried about trying to provide for their families in different ways. I had words there, and they slipped out of my head.
It happens. I'm gonna mention this since we're talking about you mentioned profiling.
Yes.
Just like to point out, sometime back in the late '90s, we had an illegal immigrant from Canada who's now currently buddy with the president. That's right. Elon Musk was walking around on a student visa, chose not to be a student and go to work instead, and therefore in violation of his visa and technically an illegal immigrant. But nobody mentions that because he was white and born in South Africa.
And I have one last thing to say on this, and I'll let it go because I'm already talking way too long already. But the whole birthright thing that Trump is trying to push through, now I'm going to be completely honest. If you can't tell already, I'm not a huge fan of our president, nor am I a Republican. I go by the Democratic Party. If that's important to you, and if you don't want to talk to me anymore because of it, so be it. I don't care what you believe in, as long as you're a decent human being.
I'm not talking to our kid anymore.
Ha. So wrapping it up with the birthright stuff, like, by all means, that means that 97% of Americans should be deported. That
you were born here in America?
Yeah.
So was I. So was Mom.
so
Guess our citizenship doesn't matter.
exactly. So if someone if I so will choose and see someone like, oh, they should be deported because even though they were born in America, I don't think they should be an American. Like, what is the valid argument on that? And also, Trump's child and his wife, I believe, all of his children,
Well, except one.
one child,
Yes.
Barron.
No, Tiffany.
Oh.
His daughter Tiffany.
Oh, yeah.
Her mother was Marla Maples, U.S. citizen, when she was born. However, his three oldest and his youngest, their mothers were not U.S. citizens until after they were born. After the kids were born.
So you can
There
probably
you go.
understand where my opinion falls on
Fair
that.
is fair.
That
If
is
you want
something I believe
equality,
in
we're going to go all the
heavily.
way.
Yes.
Careful.
Okay, I want to wrap it up with a little summary here on everybody thinks the United States is basically the only country who accepts refugees. Well, I just looked it up.
Okay.
Canada does accept refugees, and they also give their refugees income to support them for 1 year or until they can support themselves, and they receive help with essential services to help them settle. And what they consider to be a refugee is, it says Canada respects its international obligations to help those who need protection. Canada's system is designed to protect the safety, security, and health of Canadians. So it's a tit for tat. At any rate, the other one, our southern border, Mexico. Mexico, apparently, they also accept refugees and asylum seekers. They have a history of protecting people who are fleeing violence, war, or persecution. In 2022, Mexico hosted almost 500,000 refugees, asylum seekers, and other people in need of international protection. It has been praised for its local integration efforts, including the UNHCR's local integration program. Mexican law requires that asylum cases be decided within 45 working days, but asylum seekers often wait much longer. While waiting for a decision, refugees are not allowed to leave the state where they applied. So we're not the only ones, and we seem to be a little less, I don't know, here lately.
Open?
Yes, open. I know.
Like our borders. Build the wall. Sorry.
It'd be huge.
I'm trying to keep the sarcasm.
It'd be
to a minimum.
tremendous.
It's being human. It's being cool with each
And
other.
that's where I'm going to end it with. And I'm going to say this, and it's probably going to tick some people off. And I don't really care. You'll learn that about me. If you're going to sit there and claim Christianity and then turn people away who are seeking your help or are poor, you might want to read the Bible and not just claim Christianity, because if it says in the Bible, essentially, if you reject the poor or treat them poorly, you've just treated Jesus the same way. And that's apparently a big sin. So something to consider. Do you? That's your business. But I'm just telling you, pick it up, look it up. It's all over.
These are the same people who want to comment on LGBTQ marriage, and isn't no sin greater than the other?
Whoa. That's another episode. Slow down.
We can only do so much. We're running out of time. But yeah, so just things to think about. And we want to hear your opinions too. So feel free, hit us up on our social media accounts. We've got Facebook, Twitter. Yes, Elon, we're on your account. Well, I'm trying to be fair. And we're open to it. And we'll read some of your feedback if you'd like us to. What's that?
So go for Blue Sky.
Go for
You know
Blue
what?
Sky.
We'll just never subscribe to Twitter Premium or whatever it's called now.
There you go. He ain't getting
Oh,
our
goodness. Yeah, no.
We
I'm
don't
not
do
doing that.
checkmark.
We are on YouTube. You can hit us up on our email, which is H2O, not zero, O question, not plural, just singular, H2O question at gmail.com. We also have a phone number that I've recently registered. If you'd like to curse me out and tell me how wrong I am, bring it, baby. At any rate,
Debates are welcome.
yes.
Be aware, I deal with scam callers on the regular, so I'll gladly answer it, but it might not be friendly.
The number you can call is 786-505-2194. 786-505-2194. You can send a text message. Be nice, because the company will cut you off for being rude. So, but seriously, I'm open to anything. All of us are, even if we don't agree with you. This
Love
is
to
how it's
discuss.
supposed to be.
We will always sit there and discuss with people and talk with them. We enjoy the conversation.
You keep it cool, we'll definitely be cool.
Absolutely.
But you bring it up to a level, we'll meet you every step of the way.
Oh, yeah.
Just be cool. So let us hear your thoughts. That's where we stand. And this is where we're going to wrap it up. Until next time, we're out of here.
Bye-bye.